Well, I'm going to show you how I got this histogram. First, I entered all the data into a list, accessing lists through the Stat key, and it's the first option, Edit, under the menu option, Edit. So it's Stat, Edit, Edit to get the lists. So I started out by taking my list 1 and clearing it. I'm not going to show you that process on list 1. I'll show you on list 2 because I don't want to clear list 1. It took me a while to put those numbers in there. But here's how you clear a list while you're in the list. There's other ways to clear lists, but while you're in the lists, if you're going to use a list, make sure it's clear by going to the name of the list. This row up here is the list names. So you're going to list number 2. Just navigate it up there. Press the clear button and then press the down arrow. And that clears out list 2. Lists 3, 4, 5, and I guess that's list 6 over there is also clear. So now here's the data from our problem is in list 1. Okay, so I'm going to quit that, go to a home screen. I'm going to show you the stat plot function. The second function of the y equals key is stat plot. Now, a couple of things that you should check before you start this process is to actually check out your y equals functions and make sure that none of these are turned on for graphing. And you see it's a good thing I looked because this one is turned on and will be graphed, and that will make my graph look really goofy. So I'm going to make sure that that's going to be turned off by selecting it, by navigating over to it, press enter, and now you can see it's no longer selected. Now, notice that I've already turned on plot 1, so you see plot 1 is turned on. I can actually turn a plot on and off by, again, navigating up, and if it's turned on and press enter, it'll turn it off. See, so now that one's off. So if I go back and press enter again, now plot 1 is turned on. So that's another way to turn on a plot. So now let's go to that stat plot number 1. Stat plot number 1 is option number 1 under stat plot. First we'll turn it, we'll see that it is already on. This is flashing just because it's selected, but you can see that it's also turned on. Now the type that we want, I just press the down navigation, and now I navigate across to select this histogram. So you just navigate across and then press enter. Notice it doesn't push you down to the next line. You have to push yourself down to the next line. Tell the calculator where the data are. The data are in list 1, so that's L1. And to get that, you would just use second and the number 1 key, because the second function of the number 1 key is list 1. Similarly for number 2 key and number 3 key, all the way up to the number 6 key. These are your list buttons on the second function. Don't mess around with frequency, and if you can do anything else, like change colors or whatever, go ahead and do it, but it's not necessary. Now I want to make sure that my Windows settings are for the standard zoom for statistics. So before I graph, I'm actually not going to press the graph button. You could, and it would give you the histogram. But I don't like the shock of that because I don't know what the Windows settings are. So I'm going to make the Windows settings be the standard for statistics graphs. So I'm going to press the zoom button because that's option number 9 under zoom stat. So option number 9, and now it will graph. And there's the histogram. Now, you don't know these numbers on the vertical, and you don't know what numbers are on the horizontal, and you don't really know, so therefore you don't really know how many are in each of these bins. But I can see that the calculator has given me bins and shown me the midpoints here. So how many bins? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's an empty one, 6, 7. So I've got 7 bins here. If I press the trace button, then it places the cursor at the top of the first bin and tells me that the minimum in that bin is 56 and the maximum is less than 62, and that's 2/3. And that there are 13 in that bin. So there are 13 data values between 56 and less than 62 1/3. If I go over to the next bin, settles on top and tells me that there are 10 in there, and they are between 62 and 2/3, and the next, which is 69 and 1/3, I guess. So those seem like rather odd endpoints for my class. What are those called? Those are called the class limits, the lower and upper class limits. So let's go to the Windows settings and see if we can make some adjustments. Suppose we have the minimum X value as being 50, and the maximum X value as being 99. And let's just X scale by, I don't know what to do really, so I'm just going to put 1 because that's sort of a default value. Now I'm going to leave Y min and Y max alone. I don't don't care about Y scale. Let's just see what this does. So let's press graph now. Oh, that's bizarre. So I can see that something really bizarre has happened. So that there's a bin there that has no values in it. No values, no values, no values. Oh, these bins are way too skinny. It's just putting, well, it's putting like one thing in each bin. So that has, oh, that has 7. Oh yeah, that's right, that has 7. So let's go back and look at those things and try to figure out what we're doing here. Because we said the minimum x would be 50, and the maximum x would be 99, and the x scale is 1. So let's change that. That's what we have to change. The x scale is the difference between the class limits. So my first, I want my first class to go from 50 to 59, so I think I put 9 here. It might need 10, but let's put 9 and see what happens. Let's look at the graph now. Well, this looks a lot better. Let's trace through it and see what we're getting here. The minimum is 50, and then the maximum is less than 59. I really want that to be less than 60, right? So let's go back, and I think if I change this to a 10, I'll get what I want. Change that to a 10. There we go, and I press graph. Press graph. And now, if I trace through my graph, the minimum is 50, the maximum is less than 60, and that's going up to 59. Yep, okay, that's good. And then here, I'm not going high enough. Remember, my Y max was 15, and this bin has 17 in it. So now I'm going to go back and adjust my Y max. I have to think about, what's the biggest number? What's the biggest number in any of the bins? And I think the biggest number is 17. So I'm going to go up to 20, so I get a little cushion there. And one more time. Now this is a lovely histogram. So you can actually just reproduce this in your notes very neatly. So you're going from 50, and then the next, this would be 60 right here. You would put 50 here, you'd put 60 there, and then, 61, or no, I guess the next one would be, well, 50 to 59, and then 69, 79, 89. And finally, the last one would be 99. Maximum is less than 100, so and there's 1 in that bin. So this gives you the histogram, and from that, actually, you can make a group frequency table. In fact, if you make the group frequency table first and just make the bins in the table, and then set up your window properly to match that those bins. So let's see what these are. The X min is the smallest bin value, and my smallest bin value, the smallest class the first class goes from 50 to 59. My max is 99. So maybe if I change that to 100, and then change this back to a 9, I'm just playing right now, that's the cool thing about this. You can just play, make a couple of changes and see what happens. So now let's trace through and see what we're getting. We're getting 50 to 59. We're getting 59 less than 60. And then 68 less than 77. That's not right. And then there's 77, 86. So this didn't work. Didn't give me what I was expecting. So it might be interesting to think about why that happened. But I'm just going to go to 99 like I did before and change this back to 10 so it matches the histogram, or the frequency table that I've drawn up in my notebook. So when I trace through, once again, I get my first bin containing 6. Second bin has 17. Next has 8, 8 again, and 1.